This show is brought to you by our friends at bayphoto.com. Head over after the show to print something amazing. Be sure to check out their specials at bayphoto.com/specials.
Okay, well, Jared, let's just dive right in. I'm going to turn on my screen here. And whose is this?
All right, this is from our friend Lucian over in the UK. This one was taken. This is Blenheim Palace. I believe that's how you say that. In England. So this is, I guess, one of the royal residences.
Yeah, and Jared pointed out that you've got tree motion there, yeah. And so that means a long exposure. It's it's got the leading line going right up to the front door of this palace. You can't help but look at it, right? And your eye gets led up there. So it's framed well with the leading lines. It's really one line rather than two lines, but that's totally fine for a leading line. Your eye is just, here's all this green, and there's the roadway, and it goes right up to the front door. The blur of the trees is interesting. You probably know what I'm going to say. I would like to see some kind of a punctuation point or a person in the frame. Could be you, and we've talked about this. Like if you're on that path, you'd have a long walk, but that's okay. Or you could have a friend of yours walk ahead and just go up to the path or the front door. I would just say put a person in that frame, and that would, that does a lot of things. It adds a punctuation point. It adds depth. We like to see life, I believe. You're looking at a building. Okay, so put a life form in it. It becomes more interesting. That's point number one. The only other thing is I would process those clouds a little bit more. You could put a gradient filter on there and make them darker. That's probably the easiest way to just pump up. You've got some cool sort of moodiness in the sky and some texture. I would just punch that up a little bit more. But the more important thing is put a person in the frame, and it does make a difference. But thank you for sending that in. All right, who's next?
All right, let's go to our friend Christopher. So these are some photos taken, I believe he said, at the Chinese New Year celebration in Manhattan.
The same Christopher. There you are. Well,
yep.
Christopher.
Let's see here. Little boy lights sparklers during the Lunar New Year parade at Manhattan Chinatown.
The one on the left I like better. I like the smoke coming out of the sparkler of the one on the right, but I like the one on the left because there's less distraction. The hand is fine, but that sparkler over his head kind of distracts me from him. Yeah. So the one on the left works better for me. If you wanted to fiddle with Photoshop, you could pull over his hand from the right hand one and put it onto the left hand. Dan Milner, don't listen to what I just said. He doesn't like to hear me suggest things like that. And frankly, I never do those things, but I know that it can be done in Photoshop. But you could do a little combo and kind of bring out the best of each photograph. I really like the composition also with the little boy on the left works. I like the way his eyes are looking kind of at, they're looking down at the sparkler thing. The one on the bottom or the right doesn't quite work as well. But I think you're better off just working with the one on the left. It's a cleaner composition, and it's cool. It's like the dad or mom, with the gloves on and the all the debris from all the sparklers and stuff. Let me move myself out of here. Yeah, and his little shoes and the Uggs. That's definitely to me the better photograph. If you could pull smoky, the smoky sparklers over and just plunk those on there. Could be interesting, but you don't even have to do that. But good one, Christopher. I like it.
Yeah. All right. This next one is from our longtime friend, Mache.
Mache
This
is here
is-
too.
Yep. Reflection, shot and edited in a phone.
Good for you. And I, you know, it looks like a double exposure, but it's not. It's just the reflection. It's very cool. And you've got, your black and white here. Tiny little thing. I would just darken this corner here, the lower left corner. You want to get rid of anything that's going to pull, right there, pull the viewer's eye out of the frame, and then darken the two top edges, the two top corners. Same reason. Just think of it like when you look at your image, like after you've done all the things you're going to do with it, take one final look and see if there's anything that pulls your eye out of the frame. And the easy fix for that is just to darken it. And even with a phone, I don't know what you're using. If you're using Lightroom Mobile, it's not the greatest in the world, but you can do it. In terms of doing a local adjustment, you could darken those edges in Lightroom Mobile. It's going to be much easier to do it on a desktop, which is what I do. If I get a iPhone shot, I'll bring it into my desktop most of the time because I find it really hard to get those little tiny things moving around on the phone. I'd rather have more real estate that I'm working with, and I can you can fix that up in a heartbeat. But anyway, overall composition is really cool. The woman, you've managed to get that reflection in such a way that it's kind of like their faces remain intact, and then you can see the tree behind, and it's a very interesting photograph. Good one. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, let us know if you are here so that we can call out your stuff.
This one is from Damon, and they just put the question, any critiques?
Well, this is going to sound like what you heard in the first one. You've got a really interesting color here, the orange, yellow. Yeah, and you've got a frame there. Put something in the frame. Have somebody standing there. And that would, you're framing something, but what's in the frame? Nothing really. It's just another door. And doors make great frames. Windows, tree branches hanging over, So whenever you see a frame and you've got a really perfect rectangular frame there, think of it in terms of what can I do with this frame? You could put your camera on a tripod and you could walk into the frame and be the subject of that frame. You can never say, I don't have somebody to put in the frame, because you can be your subject. And some really great photographers definitely do that. So that's my only critique. You got it all dressed up, put somebody in the frame, and it'll elevate this tremendously. Okay.
This next one is from our friend Gier, who, of course, we know from his lovely film photography that he's been doing.
Oh, yeah.
This is a summer story taken with a vintage camera, a Zeiss Icon.
Zeiss.
A Zeiss.
Yeah.
Icon Acrona, 6 by 9 centimeters.
Wow.
On 120 film.
6 by 9 centimeters. Okay, so it's not a square frame; it's a rectangular frame, as you can see, and it's shot with 120 film. Which, for you guys who don't know, what 120 film is, what some of my cameras back here use, but it's 2¼ inches high, and in this case, it's a 2¼ 3¼ So it's a rectangle. That's pretty big. Just imagine 2¼ about like that, and about this wide. 35 millimeters, like about like this. So you can see how much bigger it is. That's called medium format. And it gives you a very high resolution image. When we're talking about a scanned image, it's very high resolution. In film, it means that you can produce a pretty big print out of that, and also that it's not going to be grainy. So that's cool, and the composition is really works out well because the two, what do we have? 1, 2 calves. I think those are both calves, and then we've got a horse in the background. So they all kind of work together. That's called 3-spot composition. Even though there's 4, 3-spot can be minimum of 3, and it can be more than 3, and that's actually 3-spot composition. It's in my book. It's in there, folks, and it is a form of composition that works. I will say this because do we know why all these composition elements work? Not really. I don't know that anybody's necessarily figured them all out, but they do work. And 3-spot composition just seems to be our eye gets drawn to these 3 or 4 elements, and it works. So here's the only little things I would do. I would, again, from what I said before, take the stuff where your eye gets pulled away. Take that wood in the foreground there and darken it. Just darken it. Easy to fix in Lightroom. Just make a local adjustment. In the darkroom, we could burn it in. We would use our tools to make. Burning in just means you're darkening it. And it is a darkroom technique because your eye kind of gets pulled back from the subject is the mother and the calf. We want our eye just to go there. So darken that. You could even get rid of it altogether. That would be another option. But you can certainly darken it and darken the top edge so that our eye isn't being pulled. Yeah, right there. 2 little easy fixes. Otherwise, fantastic. Again, bravo to using a medium format camera in today's world. It takes a lot of work. Please subscribe and enable the bell so you don't miss any of our new shows. Like the video and please share it and leave your comments. I love hearing from you. And remember to get out and capture your own images of life.